in my heart and my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is love, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart and my soul. Let me know all is one, holy, holy.
All good, holy,
Holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my heart, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy.
all good, holy, holy. That slide was different.
Well, welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek, and please join us on our next song. It's a lively song. Let's all stand up and sing.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Oh, my soul is
Welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
I am
Getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Thank you. That was great. Good morning. My name is Carl Jansen. Is my mic on? It is? Okay. Getting used to my own voice. Welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek on this beautiful Sunday morning. So glad to see everybody here. And we could just take a moment and turn to the camera and welcome our online visitors. Your presence adds a lot to our spiritual community, and we do appreciate you. And I invite you at this time to turn your cell phones off or to silence as we enjoy this sacred service time together. Thank you, Brian, Juliet, and Joanne for leading us in song. And our featured performer this morning is Annie Love Villiers. And ta-da! I got a I was at the 9:30 service. She's phenomenal, as always. And yeah, we know that, right, John? And our great backup group here, Dave, Dusty, and Larry. Great to have you guys. Thank you. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. And at Unity of Walnut Creek, our mission statement is, in loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. I invite you to join me in affirming our statement of faith. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And now I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward as we welcome our newcomers. Ushers are missing. If you are with us for the first time and are comfortable in doing so, we invite you to raise your hand now so we can bring you a welcome packet. There we go. And another one over here, Mike. Oh, she's got it. And if you are new and didn't want to raise your hand, which is fine, you can pick up a welcome packet out at the welcome table outside. And for all of you that are new, you can fill out a connection card if you would like to, and bring it into our bookstore for an additional gift for you. Thank you for being here today. Connection cards are available for everyone in the seat pockets in front of you. With this card, you may submit a prayer request, and our prayer chaplains will pray with you throughout the week. You may also share feedback with us on these cards. If you request any information, our staff will respond to you during office hours. The ushers will receive your cards with the offering. And now it's time to greet your neighbors, so please take a moment to greet the people all around you. Thank you.
Please join us now and sing along.
I've got peace
Like a river, I got peace like a river.
I've got
Peace like a river in my soul.
I've got
Peace like a river, I got peace like a river.
I've got
Peace like a river in my soul.
I've got
Love like a mountain, I got
love
like a mountain.
I've got
Love like a mountain in my soul.
I've got
Love like a mountain, I got love like a mountain.
got
Love like a mountain in my soul.
I've got
Joy like a fountain,
I've got
joy like a fountain.
I've got
Joy like a fountain in my soul.
I've got
Joy like a fountain,
I've got joy
like a fountain.
and I've got joy
Like a fountain in my soul.
I've got
Peace like a river, I got peace like a river.
I've got
Peace like a river in my soul.
I've got
Peace like a river,
I've got
peace like a river.
I've got
Peace like a river in my soul.
I've got
Peace like a river in my soul.
Script here, sorry about that. So today is the first Sunday of August, and guess what that means? Birthday Sunday! All righty then. So would anybody who has an August birthday, please stand. There we go. Oh yeah. Look around you guys. There's a bond between you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear friend. Happy August birthdays. So I have a few announcements this morning. Reverend Kristen will be doing her quarterly, I just learned, seasonal, this is the summer season, retreat. And I know Carolyn participated and really enjoyed it. It's an all-day event on August 10th coming up. Where you'll, well, I won't go into the details, but you'll gain a lot of insights into yourself, and you'll work with others and also spend some alone time in a beautiful setting. I was walking in Redwood Regional Park about 2 weeks ago, and it is, if you haven't been, it's one of the most gorgeous places in the Bay Area. If you if you have a call to be praying with others, please join us on August 19th for an introduction to an opportunity to eventually become a prayer chaplain. But this is just an exploratory get-together on the 19th after the 11:30 service, and you'll learn more about what prayer chaplaincy is and what that's all about. Also, a fun thing coming up that I'm really looking forward to, because I used to love to play board games. On the 24th, on Friday the 24th, we're going to have game night. So you can bring your board games and things here to church, and we'll have some fun together. And there'll be snacks and some non-alcoholic beverages provided, and invite friends to come. This is not just for Unity people. Anybody who wants to have a fun Friday night evening, please do that. So also please take a look in your bulletin for more on these events and other things that are coming up. Thank you.
I think you wanted that down, right? As we prepare for a time of meditation, C.L. Gerke is going to begin us off with a community prayer reading, followed by some music by Annie. So we invite you to get still, get comfortable, and to receive as we move into our guided meditation.
Divine order. I recognize the order of the universe within and around me. Order and symmetry reign in nature. Spirals of seashell and hexagons of honeycomb are among many beautiful patterned creations I admire. Even when nature is wild or erratic, I sense an underlying order. Crashing waves eventually calm, and wildfires quell. In my life, chaos and distraction arises and is often followed by prevailing divine order. I know life includes challenges, but I place my attention on the natural symmetry and deeper spiritual pattern of life. I know wherever I am, God is, and all is worthy of all.
Join with me, I think you know this. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a place of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. 'Cause every thought
The divine pattern of the universe is at work in us at all times. And so we rest knowing that all is well. All is ultimately well in our lives despite any outer appearances to the contrary. Hallelujah. There is a greater plan. There is an organization, a sequencing, an ability to adjust the course. And so just as the river flows with ease, we too rest in the divine, ever connected, relaxed and at ease. We enter the silence knowing that all is well, and pause here in communion with the one source that is only right here, a breath away, a heartbeat away, nowhere away, for we are one in the silence. Everything is reordered in the silence. We become more aware of our breath, of the conscious connection of spirit. We become more aware of the rhythms of rest and action. And here there is balance, harmony. And so we thank you, Spirit, for this simple practice of connection, of breath, of reordering our universe and our lives together. And so it is.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness. I'm going to ask you to be with me with this song. Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As me, where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing through me, in and out and through me. As me, where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer, here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak, God is. Where I work, love is my career. And where I play, God is playing boldly, in and out and through me. As me, doodle-doodle-doo. Where I am, where I stand, where I play, where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and love, God is. Life is. Love is. God is.
Thank you for inviting us on the journey with you. Well, good morning, everyone. Did anybody worry that the sun wouldn't rise this morning? Yes? Oh, okay. Got some real worriers in the crowd. Laid up all night, worrying, wringing your hands. So there is an order to the universe, and certain things we don't even think about, right? They just happen. The sun goes down at the time we expect it to. The sun comes up at the time we expect it to. Seasons come and go, although they may look a little different because there's always adjustments, right, happening. There is a sort of order to the universe that we can count on. We don't usually think that we're going to lose our breath or that our heart isn't going to beat. We don't even think about it because that's the rhythm of our bodies. That's what happens when we are in sync with the divine order from which we were created. Today we are exploring the power of order. We're in our 12 Powers series. We've been doing this all summer long. 12 Powers is one of the foundational teachings of unity, and this power of order is found at the navel, the place where we are symbiotically connected to our mothers in the womb, the place where we are nourished from our parent and always tied there. And we understand that spiritually to be the place where we are always connected to Source. Right? So that source energy, that spiritual food, that guidance that we receive, all connected to this place of our connection space, this reminder, the navel, the sort of center of our being. And it's located very closely to another power, wisdom, that is in the solar plexus. So they kind of share physically some of the neurological, they call that ganglionic centers of nerves, bundles of nerves that are connected. So these two powers are very connected, and they both are represented by a disciple named James, a different disciple named James, interestingly enough. And the power of order is also represented by Mary of Alphaeus, who is actually the mother of James, one of the disciples. She was one of the many women who were a part of the disciples who followed and actually supported Jesus' ministry. These were the women that took care of the behind-the-scenes things that needed to be done. So if you can imagine a whole tribe of people traveling through the countryside to perform miracles and teachings and do this ministry, you need a group of people, or at least one person, who's organizing the show, right? You need a logistical person, somebody who has a sense of order and organization and sequencing. And Mary was one of these people. She was actually Mother Mary's sister. A lot of Marys, right? So she was Jesus' uncle, or I'm sorry, Jesus' aunt, and that was weird. And so she was one of those people that took care of the basic things. You know, where are we traveling? What, you know, the money to support the ministry? How are we being financed? Where are we finding our next meal? You know, who's cooking? Who's going to the market? Who's doing the laundry? You know, all of it has to be done, right? Even way back then, 2,000 years ago. So this is that power that also has a very earthy aspect to it. It has a real, feet on the ground, material world kind of aspect, which is organization, the skill of organizing, the skill of sequencing, of knowing that I do A, and then I do B, and then I do C, and hopefully my results D come through, right? So part of it is that feet to our prayers kind of power that we're looking at with order. So it exists everywhere in nature, patterns and order that can remind us of the underlying beauty that is just we come in with, our bodies come in with, our minds come in with, our beings and our spirit, and the interconnectedness of the web of life all over the planet. One of the ways we might notice that is in the patterns of seashells or flowers. I mean, beautiful, intricate patterning that shows up in ways that it can't be a mistake, right? It can't be a mistake that it's blue and then green and then purple and blue and then green and then purple, and it goes in a line of dots and then there's a stripe. You know, it's just the kind of beauty that you would see. That's why mandalas are such a popular spiritual practice, because it puts us in that sense of order and patterning and colors and sequencing. It helps us line up and follow through with that which we intend. So it's a really great power in terms of this both divine and human aspects. It's both aspects of us. It's signified too by the color green, which is a very healing color, olive green, and also might remind you of nature and the patterning in nature and the divine order that we find everywhere present. That makes us go, wow. You know, it's that kind of oh, there is this underlying sort of plan going on. So when I'm in a difficult place in my life, whatever it is that might be going on in your life, and you're finding yourself challenged or feeling blocked or stagnant or uncertain of where to go next, taking a moment to look around and notice the patterns in nature. The last time I was on spiritual retreat, I was in the redwoods, and I noticed the ferns and the dappled sunshine that would come through the ferns and all the patterning. So it wasn't just the patterns of the ferns themselves, but the rocks beneath them with the sun shining through them and the patterns of the shadows of the ferns that would move with a little bit of breeze. I mean, it's that kind of attention that we spend that goes, and we sort of breathe and open up, right? We get kind of relaxed into the knowing that, yes, there is a divine order to my life, to this universe, to this world, and I can relax into it. I can allow myself to tune into it and to, as we talked about last week, align with the divine. And then we kind of sequence from there what our action steps are, what our intentions are. Piero Ferrucci is a spiritual teacher and author and psychotherapist, and he talks about how one day he was going to be interviewed, and it was a pretty big interview for him. And so he wanted a really quiet place to do it, and he thought about, well, I could do it somewhere at home. And he's like, no, because the kids, they might start singing or they might start yelling. Can't really control that, right? So maybe I'll go to the office, but I can't be on the first floor. I need to be up on the top floor because I'll be away from the sound of the traffic, and I'll go really early in the morning and schedule this early so nobody else will be around. So he, lined up everything he could possibly line up to make this the perfect quiet environment. As he was coming in, the security guard just, very casually said to him, by the way, the plumber's working on the pipes downstairs. And he actually thought nothing of it because he was like, well, it's downstairs, it's in the basement, no big deal, right? So he gets all set up for his interview. He sort of relaxes himself as much as he can. He says about halfway through, he's really into it. I mean, they're deep into some spiritual concepts, the moment that you've been in these kinds of conversations, right? It's really good, it's really juicy, and the doorbell rings. And so he's ignoring it, right? No, it's going to continue on, and then it rings again, and then it rings, double ring, triple ring, you know how that goes? And the insistency of that, is just sort of throwing him off of his game, right? So he's like, oh no, what could it be? And then he hears the plumber's voice saying, Dr. Ferrucci, don't use the toilets, you'll make a big mess. Of course, all this is on the air, right? So our best controlled plans, right? The thing about order is it really isn't so much about control. I mean, it is about organization and sequencing and best laid plans, but there is also a piece of it that requires a little bit of looseness, a little bit of flexibility, a little sense of balance, right? So yesterday we had the Make Way to Abundance workshop and congregational group that we came together to study abundance together in a very quick, I said it's a 12-hour class that I condensed into an hour. Like, let's just get the basics of prosperity so we can go, move with the vision of spirit. And it's that dance that we do between wisdom and order, these two powers, both signified by a disciple named James, and so telling us how closely they are related. And so then we opened ourselves to the vision of spirit, like we would do in this dance between these two powers. We allowed ourselves to hear what spirit had to show us, to see what spirit wanted to show us, to hear what spirit had to say to us, to open to that vision, and then to hear the divine ideas, the ideas for income streams. And together then, we had to move from there. We didn't want to leave it there. How many times have you been to a visioning session or an organization's session where you have tons of great ideas up on the walls and then they get rolled up and put away in a closet, and so it was a great day, end of story, right? So we were very intentional when we were planning this to say, no, we need action, we need order, we need sequencing, we need an action plan. We're not going to just leave it in the idea stage. We're not going to leave it in the, yes, we received these fabulous ideas and we rolled them up and put them in the closet. So we came up with, the executive team was working together to come up with just, a little bit of structure, like enough structure that we could get it going and there would be action, but not so much that it would choke the life out of it. You know that balancing act? Because somebody on the team said, oh no, if you give me too much structure, I'm not going to do it. So it's like, okay, so right, we understand that. So we need like just the right amount of guidelines. And so somebody on the team came up with a basic action plan. And we came up with these great ideas. Now we have 4 teams, 4 team leaders, board liaisons on all those teams, hitting the ground running. Yep, and you want to hear the ideas? This place, Unity of Walnut Creek, is going to be the go-to place for spiritual workshops and events. And yeah, isn't that exciting? That's number 1, and these are by vote, how many. The number 2 is that there's going to be a focus on who are we bringing in, who are we inviting in, what are the kinds of groups and people that we want to really target who would be very interested in what we have to offer. So how will we outreach to those people and invite those people into our community to join us in this fabulous place? So that's our second one. The third one is, where are we headed? We need a little bit more of a plan. Talk about divine order. We need a little structure, a little bit more guidance. So what's our strategic plan? We're catching a vision, and so we'll put the vision forward, and then as you turn back from the vision, what are the steps that took you there? So we've got a team that's working on moving toward a strategic plan. And then we had a more specific one where somebody wanted to create a summer camp for kids and have at the same time adult classes going during that week. So busy parents would have a chance to attend some classes they're really interested in while their children are in a really engaging camp with things like connection practice and heart math and soul collage and all these really fun, art projects and nature and bringing in all these pieces and parts in a summer camp. So those are the 4 things that we're focused on, and our teams have hit the ground running with a simple couple of guiding questions to get them going. So that's an example of how we might set a pattern in motion. So we listen to the wisdom within us and work these 2 powers together. We open ourselves to what it is that Spirit has for us. What's our next step? What is Spirit showing us is for our life, the vision that we want for our life. And then as we open to that vision, maybe we get a symbol or a color or a form or something simple that says, oh, that has some energy for me. That has some juice for me. And as we sit with it, it begins to open up further like a flower in a beautiful pattern. And then we begin to wonder, okay, well, so then what would be the next step I could take toward that vision? And pretty soon we've got a sequence. We've got a plan. We're taking one step and checking in, and another step and checking in, and another step. And we're kind of in this dance with Spirit. So that's a bit how order can work in its best way. Who doesn't love order? Well, I guess some people don't, right? I love order, so you could tell by that statement. There are times when, it brings me great satisfaction, like when the dishes are all stacked and put away and in the cupboard, and the pens are in their right place and the paper's stacked somewhere. Anybody have that sort of sense of, energy moves very, beautifully when things are kind of put in their place, right? But, we could also go on the opposite end of that and drive everybody in our household crazy with, straightening the rug and so on. So we also have that balance. That part of the beauty of this power of order is that it's also an adjusting power. Charles Fillmore talked about that there is an ability to adjust that is built into the power of order. It's an ability to move as we need to move, to change as we need to change, to create a different kind of order in the universe. Like, for example, the spider. The spider spins a glorious web, right? I think we even have a photo of a spider web. And that spider probably worked very hard to develop that beautiful web that is symmetrical, that is gorgeous, and has a purpose, right? It's to catch its nourishment, to catch its next meal. But there is such beauty in that, and I don't know how spiders learn. I should have looked this up. I'm curious. I think it's an innate knowing, they spin their web out, and then they somehow know how to create this beautiful web. Sometimes you see them on the ground in the fields, or you see them between trees, you know, or you see them in your home, maybe. Maybe you don't admire them so much there. But that sense of sequencing and order, the spider works alone. Typically, I've not seen spiders spin webs together. So typically that's a solo adventure. And sometimes we are on the solo adventure of organizing for our lives. And sometimes we're in the team, working with the team, like the honeycomb that the bees do together. That very much similar to like the work that we were doing yesterday. In the honeycomb, there is a perfect hexagonal shape that the bees create, and both the bees and the spiders, it's out of their own body that they get the substance to make these amazing things. And so this too then becomes the place to hold their larvae, to hold their honey as they produce the honey. And it's this perfectly shaped hexagon because it makes the best use of the space. So it's kind of the same for us when we mimic nature. There's actually a word for that, biomimicry, where we create and innovate in the world where it's a mimicking of nature. We too can do that in our own lives. We can look at what it would be the most efficient shape or way to use this space so that the energy flows and the food, the nourishment that we want to draw from it really comes. So that would be important for like a space like this in the sanctuary, right? It's a place where we come for spiritual food and inspiration and connection. We want the energy to flow. We want there to be a sense of inspiration and also effective use of our space. It's the same with your own life, not only in the physical, but in the emotional and the mental realms as well. So sometimes we have to make little adjustments along the way when things aren't clicking along as we wish them to, right? So anybody remember the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? Yeah, it's a great spiritual movie, right? And it was an early pioneer in the marriage of spirituality and science. So there was talk about the neuroplasticity of the brain and how we can rewire, essentially, the neurons of the brain. So I don't know if you remember, but there's a feature story going on at the same time with these sort of talking heads from spirituality and science about how we move through life. And in the feature story, the woman has felt burned by love. And so there's a lot of issues around relationship and self-love, and there's a lot of rage and sadness because of old memories. And so then they take us into the brain and this animated look at the brain and how the neurons work. And they show us these images of she'll have a memory come up, and it's a memory that makes her angry, and then there'll be a feeling of rage, and then there'll be a feeling of sadness. And then it'll happen over and over again. Something will trigger it, and she'll have the memory, or she'll run into the guy that was a part of this, and she'll have the same thing happen again, right? The memory, and then the rage, and then the sadness. So it creates this neural pathway where the arm of the neuron is actually attached there, and it continues to create and fire in that same direction. So there is an order established. Now, most of us don't want to relive over and over again a painful memory, feel the rage, and feel the sadness, right? So we can actually rewire our brains by shifting into things like gratitude, things like self-love. And so over time, the character in this begins to learn how to shift over from rage and sadness to gratitude and love, and to literally rewire the brain. So this is that kind of adjusting that we can do for ourselves in our lives, where we feel maybe there's something going on in your life right now where you feel a little stuck or you feel blocked in some way. And you can ask yourself, how could I think about this situation differently? Because maybe over and over again you've thought about how the other person is doing it wrong, or how the two of you keep getting in a locked space that isn't working, or whatever it is that you have thoughts about your situation. It may not be about a relationship, but whatever it is where you find those sort of stuck places or repetitive thoughts that aren't really serving, or repetitive feelings that aren't really serving. And you could almost imagine like unplugging that neuron and replugging it into the place of the groove, creating a new groove of gratitude and love. Those are pretty much the highest vibrations we can get into, is gratitude and love. And so we can create then a new groove that says, oh, how much I learned from that experience. So a switch, you have the memory, and then I learned so much from that experience. You know, many of us can go to that place after we've gone through some of the healing of the emotions, and we can begin to switch. Or how much love there was. I have grief because I loved so deeply. What a gift it was that I loved this person so deeply, or that maybe you still do love this person so deeply. And so there is love, there is the experience of love. And so it can just be about love. It doesn't have to be about the particular situation. So as we move then into gratitude and love, every time we have created then a new groove, a new mental groove, a new spiritual groove, a new way that divine order is at work now. That underlying pattern has been readjusted by you and your mental capacity and power to choose to go a different direction. So that's one of the great ways that we can work in this adjustment kind of phase for ourselves and to line up with this idea of order. You know, too much over-organizing and control can get so rigid. And if you know, rigid things, they break under pressure, right? Have you ever noticed that? If you get something that's too rigid or you force it, then it just breaks under pressure. So too is our life, right? So too are the things, the relationships, the experiences in our lives. So we don't want to get so hands-on that it's got to be this way that we get forceful, because things then break apart under pressure. We want to be in both that dance of being the lead, being the follow to the lead of spirit. I took dance lessons years ago, and my dance partner or I didn't really, you know, it was dance lessons, so we didn't really know what we were doing. And because he didn't know what he was doing, he wasn't leading at all. And so because he wasn't leading, I started to lead. And then we were falling, you know, we were standing on top of each other almost, because it was like he would start to try to lead, then I would lead, then, you know, he didn't know how to follow, and I, you know, so on. It was a mess. So the dance instructor stepped in, and I totally got how to follow because he was a strong lead. So I was getting the guidance, the nudge, where to go and how to go. And so I didn't need to have that impetus to try to take control of the situation. And so it's the same with us in our lives, right? If we can surrender into the lead of spirit, into the power of wisdom, then order flows from there. And then it's just a little bit of learning the steps, right? Learning the basics of how this goes, and then we can move with grace in our lives. And that's the way it's meant to be. That's the way our lives are meant to be ordered, is in this way of allowing, of opening, of listening, of receiving the guidance, and then moving from there. And sometimes there's a checking in before we move another step, and sometimes we got it, you know? We got the new practices down. So for those of you who have a regular practice, you might know that the beauty of order, it's like you get into muscle memory what your spiritual practice is. So I know when I divert from my practice, if I go straight for the tea kettle instead of straight for a room in our house we call the temple, and start my yoga and meditation time, if I go to the tea kettle first, I get derailed because there are other people in the house and other conversations going on, and I kind of get wrapped up in the day, and then, well, I got to go look to see what's on my calendar, and you know how this goes, right? Anybody with me here? But if I create the groove that I want, that says, oh no, I walk out of my bedroom and I go into that space where I do my yoga practice. And I've done that yoga practice so many times that there's a muscle memory to it, and it just takes over. Like I can be into the fourth position and go, oh wow, yeah, that's right. Bring your mind present again, you know, because it's in that kind of automatic mode. So we want to be present, but we also kind of create that groove for ourselves for those practices that really support us. So find, if you don't already have it, or deepen what you do have that works, that practice into a mental, emotional, spiritual groove. Something that it's just natural for you. It always happens. It sets your day. It sets the tone. It's foundational. And so then the order kind of goes from there. Things sort of naturally line up for you in a different kind of way. There's greater clarity. it's kind of like when you clean out a drawer at home, right? It's that kind of, there's a decluttering of the energy because you know where things go, and you can see what's there, and what goes here and what goes there, and what needs to be tossed and what needs to be given away, and so on. Danae recently did that for us in the foundation of our church, the room that's downstairs that was had a lot of stuff in it, and that clears energy. So as we were talking about abundance here and prosperity and opening up the channels from our source to flow into Unity of Walnut Creek so it can flow through our ministries and out into the world, it was one of the ways that Danae stepped in to help out and said, you know what, I'm going to just go downstairs and clear some things out and clean up that energy and let it flow again. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, and you too can do it. Do you have a junk drawer at home or a sock drawer that needs a little attention, or a shed or a garage, Even if we just take one little thing on, it doesn't always have to be the whole, the big room. But even those little spaces, it begins to free the energy, and this is great prosperity, opening up prosperity for us. So if prosperity is an area that you want to work on, which is pretty much everything in life, right? Let's face it, prosperity, pretty much spans everything. We talk about financial freedom a lot, which is an important piece, but there are lots of other aspects of prosperity in our lives, the way we want things to go. So this can be a practice for you to begin to open that. One of the many ways then you begin to open up that energy so that the dance can continue. Because the dance is always going on. There's always a dance with you in spirit. There's always an invitation, if you will, to join the dance. You may not be aware of it, but there's a constant invitation. And so when we open up spaces physically, mentally, emotionally, spirit gets a chance to be seen and known in our lives. And we see how there's an invitation to follow, an invitation to move in that divinely ordered pattern, in the beauty of like the seashells we looked at, in the beauty of something like what the spider creates with the web, in the beauty of the honeycomb. All these patterns that are constantly reflecting back to us that there is an underlying divine order to this universe and your life, and all you have to do is open to it. Say yes to the dance and get involved in the partnership. My mom was voted best dancer in her high school, and her older brother, Bob, my uncle, was also voted best dancer in his high school class. He was 7 years older than her. And my mom, unfortunately, throughout my uncle's life, would usually dwell on the things that happened in childhood that she hadn't forgiven, and so there wasn't really a great relationship there. I mean, we did go see him, and there was some connection, but it wasn't as great as it could have been that my sisters and I always wanted for my mom and my uncle. But I do remember one time at a wedding being so surprised to watch my mom and my uncle dance. It was one of those times where like somebody's dancing and everybody wants to watch. And so everybody just sort of opened up the space. And the way they moved together was so beautiful. It was so in harmony. It was so much the kind of dance I'm talking about. There was a sense of oneness in their movements. You would never know that they were a brother and sister that weren't, you actually would never even know they were brother and sister. And then on top of that, you would never know that there was discord or conflict of any kind to watch them dance. And that's the thing, is when we move into the dance of life, when we allow the divine order and the divine wisdom, these powers to dance together, when we open ourselves to the truth and allow that to take the lead, there's a melding into oneness. There's a melding into grace. There is an ease and a patterning of life that is already there for us. The river already knows how to flow. And it's just a matter of just receiving the rain, right? Receiving the water from the source. It knows to go to the sea. It knows its way. It doesn't stop and wonder, which way do I go? It just knows innately, and so too do we. We have that built into us. We have that built-in wisdom, that built-in guidance system. And so when we listen, when we allow ourselves to drop in, and then we just flow with it, we follow with it, it becomes this beautiful dance of oneness. And that's order and wisdom together, moving together in the world. That's what we're meant to be in that kind of rhythmic movement. It's like a whirling dervish. Have you ever seen a whirling dervish? Yeah, the Sufi dancers, it's a spiritual practice. And of course there are steps to learn, right? That's a part of it that feels a little clunky when we're learning the steps, when we're laying out the steps to our new practice, when we're trying to change the neural pathways of our mind. It's a little clunky at first. It's like learning a musical instrument, you know? It takes some time, and then all of a sudden, there's a song. It all goes together. Same with the steps of the dance, right? So the whirling dervish has these steps. So there's a hand that goes up toward heaven and another hand that goes to the earth. And then they anchor on the left foot, and then they just spin and spin and spin. And it's not, you know, I've watched it before, even live, and I don't feel dizzy, even though I'd feel very dizzy if I was to do that for you here and now. But why don't they get dizzy? Because it's a spiritual practice and they're completely anchored in that energy and that focus of the divine. And they don't lose focus. And so they whirl and they whirl and they whirl. And a lot of times in the dramatic effects, they'll let go of like these outer cloaks that are like the outer world. And then there'll just be like a pure white robe underneath or something. And then they just keep whirling until they fall to the ground and their navel connects with the earth. And then they just meditate there. So they've come back down to the source, to that connection once again, to that place from whence we came and we return, heaven and earth, right? All one, all in balance. And then they just wait until they feel ready to sit up and meditate a little bit more, and then eventually the dance is over. And often there's many of them whirling at the same time. So it's a really beautiful, I encourage you if you haven't seen it before to look it up online and maybe even go if you can find a performance to really experience that idea of perfect order, of perfect movement that is grounded in spirit. That's solo dance, like the spider's web, right? Unlike the honeybee dance that is together in partnership. But both of them are a part of our lives. Both of them, we are in partnership with each other. We are in partnership with spirit until we meld into that full oneness. And then we can't tell the difference between you and me, God and me, the earth and me. It all becomes one. That's when these powers then meld from the 12 into the one. It's when all these powers then become the Christed nature of us, the divine nature of us, which is really what we're after. We look at the powers just to understand them and how to work them, but it's all about raising up our overall conscious understanding into that place of oneness. So this is the dance we're on. This is the beauty of the dance that we're in together. It is our whole lives really are the dance with spirit. And we are in lockstep rhythm with it if we allow ourselves to awaken and activate this power of order and let it follow the lead of wisdom. So let's affirm this together, this lockstep nature that we have, this rhythm that we have with spirit. Together? My life is a dance in lockstep rhythm with the one.
Where we stand, God is. Where we stand, God is standing strong. Where we breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As we, where I stand, God is the song in me. Where I live, God is breathing through me, in and out and through me. As we join with me, God
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you, Annie. That was great. Our prayer chaplains are available after the service to provide personal prayer support. So if you're a prayer chaplain and are wearing your lavender stole or not, please stand so people can see you. Oh, great. Got a bunch of prayer chaplains today. Whether you have a joy or a concern in your heart today, praying with our prayer chaplains is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness. Now it's time for our prosperity celebration. We know in truth there is no lack or limitation, and abundance is our true nature. For your convenience, there are a variety of ways to financially give to this community. For credit card donations, you can use PushPay on your smartphone, or take an envelope from the clipboard on the back of the chair in front of you. Those of you at home can also use PushPay or click the donate button on the Watch Live page. I invite you to take your tithe or your offering in your hand and repeat this affirmation with me. Together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
So, after listening to the sound, thank you. After listening to the message today, I feel pretty inspired, but I need a little help. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to help me. And if you need the same help yourself, I will help you. With all I know about the universe, you'd think I'd have it down, the way it works. If I'm so richly blessed, how come sometimes I'm such a mess? Guess I forget. Help me remember who I am. Help me to trust in the master plan. When I think that I can't, remind me I can. Help me remember who I am. I've read the concepts and complexities of quantum physics and of string theory, but it's the simple stuff, like love is all that I'm made of, that trips me up. Help me remember who I am. Help me to trust in the master plan. When I think that I can't, remind me I can. Help me remember who I am. I am a precious child of God, for heaven's sake. Not floating so low on the breeze. So when I'm feeling kinda small and lost in space, would you remind me, please? Help me remember who I am. Help me to trust in the master plan. When I think that I can't, remind me I can. Help me remember who help me remember who I am. Help me to trust in the master plan. When I think that I can't, remind me that I can. Help me remember who I am. Help me remember who I am.
Isn't that why we're here? To remember who we are. Absolutely. Thank you, Annie and band. All right, let's bless our goodness, our abundance, this symbolic abundance that is ours together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is. Welcome, children. Come on up. Bob, would you like to tell us about what you did today?
So we talked about the power of order. And
Ellie's messy room is...
so that was one of the things we talked about. So what we defined as whoops, sorry. What we gave a definition to order that was kind of understandable to them was a feeling of being safe, being comfortable, not having chaos in their lives like a messy room, and then Elian had a really nice insight about why we establish a routine of going to Sunday school, because, and I'm not going to put him on the spot, but he was saying that it is a way for God to speak to us and give us wisdom so that we can do things in divine order. So it all kind of tied together.
Nice. Woo, thank you. One of these days we're going to have you all teach us, because I think you got it. May we bless you today. Let's bless our children and teachers. Children and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. And we invite you now to take your neighbor's hand if you're comfortable doing so. And we're going to close out with our prayer of protection, followed by the peace song. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God ever present, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. You are the love and the light and the order on earth. So let your light shine and have fun. Amen.